Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sistren. It's news that's nightly about the Redskins. Welcome to the Redskins Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So the Redskins are set to take on the New England Patriots, the undefeated 4-0 New England Patriots at home, as the Redskins look to get on the board off the schneid and get their first win of the season. We all know it's not happening this week, but some interesting things to take into consideration when talking about this football game. And obviously, the first is who's going to be the quarterback. I've already answered that. I answered that directly after last week's contest, and I told you, if healthy, and Jay, without actually saying it, has said it. We'll talk more about what Jay had to say at the podium today. He, along with Greg Minuski, spoke. I know at this point you probably don't even care, which if I wasn't doing this, I probably wouldn't even care. However, I'll inform you on what was said, or at least the pertinent parts of what was said from each of their pressers, and both of them were extremely brief. I mean, Jay normally talks for every bit of 10 minutes, especially on a Thursday, but Jay got in and out. Jay was done in every bit of 5 minutes. So you can sense a little bit of frustration. You can hear it in Jay's voice, and you can also hear it in some of his answers. And Jay's been really snarky of late and very sarcastic. And I love it, though. I'm not mad at him because I understand the position that he is in. Speaking of Jay Gruden, another big storyline out of this game is this his last game as Redskins head coach? A lot of people seem to think so. I'm not one of them. I do not believe Jay Gruden is getting fired after this game, despite numerous reports. Hell, there were reports last week that Jay was going to be fired if the Redskins didn't beat the Giants. And lo and behold, the Redskins didn't not only not beat the Giants, they looked horrific in that football game, only scoring 3 points against a very bad Giants football team. As I've mentioned time and time again, the Giants, despite their 2-2 record, aren't a very good football team. And the Redskins are much worse, as we saw last week. And so there are a number of storylines with this football game, but to me, none bigger than the quarterback situation, because at this point, I've told you over and over again, I only want to see one thing happen. It's not going to happen. It's going to give us a better chance to win, but who cares about wins and losses at this point? Essentially, with an opportunity to give Dwayne Haskins quality reps and snaps, and he's not taking all of the reps in practice. Jay talked about those reps being divvied up. Speaking of which, let's get to in other news as we look at the pressers of both Jay Gruden and Greg Minuski. And we'll start with the guys that are going to be able to play this weekend. Let's first start with some news that came down yesterday, and I failed to mention this, so I apologize for that. But the Redskins have activated wide receiver Cam Sims off of the practice squad, signed him to the 53-man roster, and then signed Darvin Kidsey onto the practice squad. So 2 roster moves made there. I think the one of note is Cam Sims. Now, I don't honestly know what that means. If Sims is going to see the field in an offensive capacity, he will be on special teams, and he may get a look-see on offense. I can tell you this much. It's not a coincidence that you throw a 50-50 ball up to a 6-foot, maybe 5'11" wide receiver last week, and it gets picked off, and all of a sudden Cam Sims is now active. The 6'5", 225-pound Cam Sims is active the following week. I don't know if there's a direct correlation to that or not. I doubt it. Seriously, I think the Redskins are just looking for a spark. They got rid of Robert Davis, who was actually in the game, and a pass that was thrown to him was intercepted last week by Janoris Jenkins on the very first possession of the game. They got rid of Robert Davis, and so to replace him on the roster, they chose to go with Cam Sims. So we'll see if that has any impact on the Redskins roster whatsoever, or if he's just a guy on the roster that's going to help on special teams but really not have any kind of offensive impact. We will see. But as you get into the particulars of who practiced, who did not, it's looking really bleak in terms of guys playing this week. So you start with the guys that didn't practice. Obviously, you've got the 2 tight ends out with concussions still in the protocol, in Vernon Davis and Jordan Reed. Neither one of those guys look like they're going to play this week. You also had Brandon Sheriff, who's still not ready to go, did not practice. I anticipate that he will not play this week for the second consecutive week. He was out on the practice field, but was in civvies and doesn't look like he's anywhere near ready to go. So I anticipate that he will not play in Week 5 versus the Patriots. Neither on the practice field was Josh Norman. He was out with a knee injury. Now, when asked about Josh's injury, Jay said he didn't think it was serious. So that leads me to believe that Josh might play. But then again, how many times has Jay kind of made us feel at ease about an injury only for that guy not to play on Sunday? So I honestly don't really know what to make of that. Josh didn't practice for the second consecutive day. I'm right now leaning towards him not playing. We'll see what happens. If Jay thinks it's not serious, then I tend to side with him. If he says it's not serious and he probably thinks that Josh will be able to go, we'll see what's happening. This is the thing you got to understand. When you're 0-4, guys aren't as willing to put their bodies at risk for an 0-4 ball club that's going nowhere fast versus a team that's competitive, that's in a divisional race or looking to get a wild card. You're much more likely to suck it up and play with bruised ribs or a sore ankle or knee or something that may keep you out on a team that's not playing for anything, which the Redskins currently aren't. And guys haven't necessarily packed it in at 0-4, but come on, let's be serious with ourselves. And not to mention, it is New England. We're not going to win the football game. But again, you can't have that mindset if you're a player, but if you're a fan, that's the mindset you have going into this football game. So don't know about Josh, but he did not practice for the second consecutive day. Now, obviously, Josh Harvey Clemens, he's going to be out this week. Talked about him not practicing yesterday, did not practice again today. Don't anticipate him being on the active roster come Sunday. You go to the guys that were limited participants in practice. Some of these guys don't look very good. Chase Rouillet, another limited day for him. He was limited yesterday, limited again today. Terry McLaurin is the one that really stands out because Jay talked about Terry being very limited, and someone asked the question about, how do you try to be a little bit delicate with a hamstring because, these can flare up and they can linger if not handled properly. And Jay pretty much said, yeah, Terry's not doing much. He's limited, but he's very, very limited. Tomorrow will be the day that they'll be able to tell if Terry will be able to give them anything this week. I highly doubt it. I think we're going to miss Terry for the second consecutive week. And I honestly don't blame them because I want Terry healthy for when Dwayne plays. He's not going to play this week, so honestly, I can care less. I would like to see Terry and Dwayne in at the same time because we'd like to think that that's the future of our offense. Those two hooking up, making some big plays together like they did at Ohio State. I'm hoping that Terry can get better soon, but I don't anticipate him playing in this game. He was limited in practice and very, very limited if you listen to what Jay had to say at the podium. And so was Case Keenum. Case Keenum, remember, was in a walking boot yesterday, did not practice. Same thing that happened last week. And then no walking boot today, practice on a limited basis today. Seemed fine, but the vast majority of the first-team reps went to Colt. All of them got first-team reps, Colt, Case, and Dwayne. Jay didn't actually specifically talk about how those reps were divvied up in terms of who got the most, but you're led to believe that Colt got the most reps, and we really don't know what happened thereafter. And Jay, again, without specifically saying who was going to start, he pretty much went out of his way to talk about Colt and how if Colt's healthy, that's going to go a long way in determining who's going to get the nod. He also talked about Case and how he felt on Friday, or how he will feel on Friday, and how that will determine his decision making. And then he just, as he always does, just throws Dwayne in as a throwaway at the end, and will also evaluate Dwayne as well, which is telling you that Dwayne doesn't have a chance in hell of starting this week. If Colt is ready, he's your starter. I think the only way Dwayne starts is if Colt can't go. I think then maybe you see a Dwayne. I really feel like Jay's done with Case at this very moment, but it's hard to say. I mean, if Colt couldn't go, he may go right back to Case. But I think he would go from Colt to Dwayne is my guess. But I think those are going to be your two active quarterbacks on Sunday, by the way. Colt as your starter, Dwayne as your backup. I've said that on a couple of occasions now. Said it yesterday. I'm going to reiterate it today because I think that's going to be your situation. Jay kind of led on to, yeah, I know who the starting quarterback's going to be. Still want to see some things tomorrow in practice, but pretty much no. Still not telling anyone, which I don't blame him. He shouldn't tell because, again, the Patriots have to prepare for all of these quarterbacks. Again, what does that actually really mean? At this point, probably not much. I mean, who are you really preparing for? I mean, Dwayne's a rookie, Case stinks, and Colt. I mean, we know who Colt is as a quarterback. I think he is the best of the three quarterbacks in Jay's system, obviously for obvious reasons. But no one's afraid of Colt McCoy. All right, so they don't have anything to worry about. Jay could have told them weeks, months, years in advance who the quarterback was going to be. It wouldn't have made one bit of difference. But Jay's keeping it close to the vest, as he should. Any competitive advantage you can get, you need to hold on to it, especially against a team that is light years better than you are. So Jay not disclosing who the quarterback's going to be in this particular game, and I don't have a problem with that. He already knows who it is. I thought he knew who it was after last week's game. If Colt was healthy, Colt was going to be the guy, and I think Jay knew that all along. You get to Greg Minuski and what he had to say in his presser. His was even shorter than Jay's. Jay's was 5 and some change. Greg's was 3 and some change. Honestly, who really gives a shit about what Greg has to say at this point anyway? But I think the one thing that I actually cared about that he spoke, to was getting something out of the newest member of the outside linebackers, and that being Noah Spence. And that's a guy that I told you I was impressed with in limited reps, obviously, in the Giants game. I thought that Noah Spence, at the end of that first half, if you go back and you watch that Giants possession right before halftime when Noah Spence got into the game, I thought he was electric off the edge. Almost got a sack. Again, if the defense the back end had been able to hold up for just a tad bit longer, that's a sack, maybe even a forced fumble. I thought he had another rush where it was impressive, where he went inside and almost applied a little bit of pressure. So I was really impressed, and it sounded like Greg Minuski was impressed with what he saw from Noah Spence. And again, with a team that isn't getting and generating enough pressure in individual one-on-one matchups, hell, they're not even generating pressure when they blitz most times. But in a situation where you're getting a guy that is generating pressure one-on-one, you need to give him more snaps. And it sounded like Minuski was going to actually put that into practice this week, because he said, look, he did some really good things, showed us that he has some juice off the edge, and we think we're going to use him a little bit more in some obvious passing situations, which is music to my ears because, again, I said this before, Casanova McKenzie might have been the guy with the most juice off the edge. That's scary, okay? You're talking about a guy that is a rotational depth edge rusher being potentially your most explosive and dynamic rusher. And now we have a guy that was a first-round talent that went in the second round that legitimately has the ability to get to the quarterback. It's just a matter of getting the opportunities, and that's what I want to see is Noah Spence get more opportunities to get pressure on the quarterback. Minuski doesn't want to blitz a ton. A guy like Noah Spence is going to give you an opportunity to potentially not have to blitz as much if you give him more opportunities to get after the quarterback. So that was the one takeaway from what Minuski had to say. It was much of the same. We got to coach better. We got to play better. Guys got to win individual matchups, that sort of thing. Nothing new. He's preaching the same thing that hasn't worked over the first 4 weeks of the season. So I expect no difference this week. And it just so happens we're going up against arguably the GOAT at quarterback in Tom Brady. Speaking of which, let's get to our matchup on Sunday and what it's going to take to get a dub and my final outcome for this game. So, honestly speaking, I don't think there's anything the Redskins really can do short of the Patriots throwing up all over themselves and really not showing up on Sunday. It's not much the Redskins can do to impact the outcome. Now, I will say, I expect with Colt McCoy at quarterback for this offense to be a lot sharper. It would have helped a lot if they had Terry McLaurin. That would have given them a fighting chance offensively, but I don't see the Redskins scoring a boatload of points. However, I do see them being able to sustain offense a little bit better with Colt McCoy in the lineup. I do see them being able to keep the defense from being on the field for the entire first or second half. Now, again, I don't see drives ending in touchdowns. I do still see Colt McCoy as a guy that will turn the football over. The Patriots have done a tremendous job of creating turnovers in this young season, and they're number one in the league in sacks, tied for number one with 18 of those on the season. In contrast, the Redskins only have 5 sacks this season, and so I don't really see the Patriots having any issues getting to Colt McCoy, or at least making him uncomfortable and forcing him into a mistake or two during the course of this game. That's even if Colt's able to finish the game. We know Colt has not always been a guy that's been able to start and finish a game, and so we'll see if he's able to do that in his first action of 2019. But if you're looking for some keys to the game for the Redskins, obviously the penalties have to be something that they've been preaching. It seems to have fallen on deaf ears, and I will agree with Jay, who did say in his presser on Wednesday that, you know, it's really hard with these penalties because the other team, the opposition, is doing some of the same things we're getting flagged for, and they're just simply not getting flagged. And I agree with Jay. I'm not one to complain about the officiating. It is what it is at this point, but there's something to be said about watching a guy strangle your edge rusher and it not get called. Or we've seen, like the Dallas game was a prime example of them getting away with just murder and us doing the same thing and getting called and flagged for it each and every single time. The Redskins had 15 penalties, 11 accepted in the game versus the Giants. That can't continue if you want to have any shot of beating anybody, let alone the New England Patriots. So that's a big point of emphasis. Also, can't have the turnovers. 4 turnovers last week, 5 the week before that. You continue to turn the football over, you're going to get stomped. And again, as I mentioned, you're not going to beat anybody, and you're definitely not going to beat the New England Patriots if you're going to turn the football over. Third down defense, third down offense, both of them are going to be huge in this game. One of the best ways the Redskins can give themselves a fighting chance is to control time of possession. How do you do that? Convert on third downs, which means you got to eliminate the penalties. You can't be in 3rd and 11s, 3rd and 12s, 2nd and 17s, 1st and 20s. Those don't benefit you. Those don't set up 3rd and manageables. And they may be a little bit more conducive to being converted with Colt at quarterback, but you don't want to put yourself in that position. You just don't. So converting on third downs is going to be huge. And conversely, getting off the field on third downs, which the Redskins still remain by far and away the worst third down defense in the league at 63% on the season. They've got to get off the field on third downs. I don't know how they're going to do that with Tom Brady coming to town. The Patriots offensively haven't been all that sharp. And I watched a defense in the Buffalo Bills who is light years ahead of us defensively take it to the Patriots. And again, that's family business. So I need to stay out of that business because it's not business of our own. However, I saw Brady rattled. I saw his team around him rattled offensively. And if not for a blocked punt last week, the Patriots would have scored all of 9 points because they missed an extra point. They scored 16 points last week, 7 of which came on a blocked punt that went for a touchdown. So they struggled mightily offensively, to say the least. And they haven't been all that great the last 2 weeks. They started out like game busters the first 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks, not so much. But then again, they played against better defenses the last 2 weeks, the Jets and now the Bills. So take it for what it's worth. We're not nearly as good as either one of those two defenses. And I expect Brady and company to pick back up where they left off in week 2 when they were scoring up over 30 with no problems. They scored over 30 against the Jets and did it with relative ease. Brady and company didn't finish out the fourth quarter of that game, but I think they're going to get back to their scoring ways in this football game and do it with relative ease against one of the worst defenses in the National Football League at this very moment. It'd be nice to get Chris Thompson more touches. I think he has to be way more involved. I really think the screen game needs to be way more prevalent for the Redskins. And I honestly don't care who you get the football in the hands of. I would love to see the Steven Sims package. I would love to see Steven Sims touch it. I would love to see Steven Sims on punts. To be honest with you, I really don't know what Jay's waiting on at this point. Trey Quinn doesn't want anything to do with punt returns. I think we've seen enough of him back there. He's looking for a patch of grass to dive onto at this point. Why are we holding on to him? I get it. Jay likes the comfort of knowing that Trey's going to field the punt, but you got to get past that, especially when your offense is as anemic as it's been. You need any spark that you can get. Steven Sims can potentially give you a spark on punt returns. I think the time is now to go ahead and insert him back there as your punt returner. And oh, by the way, get him some touches on offense as well. I think that's something else they need to try to do. And again, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him touch it 2 or 3 times in the screen game. Chris Thompson needs to touch it 2 or 3 times in the screen game, and they need to get it to him out of the backfield as a receiver, and he needs to get more carries in the run game as well. Speaking of run game, I'm over the run game and a lot of you keep preaching the run game every week. Stop. Okay, you know what this run game is, you know what it looks like, and you know that we're not capable of putting together a run game that's going to be effective. So you can just save your breath about the run game. All I ask is that if it's not working, go away from it sooner rather than later and go to the short passing game, the extension of the run game, the 5-yard sticks, the 3-yard slants, balls that come out quickly that get you 3 to 5 to 7 yards on first down, that put you in an advantageous second down and distance situation. Do not pound your head up against a brick wall. If the run game is losing you for 1 or 2 yards or only netting you 1 yard or no gain, get away from the run, because, again, all we're getting from that is lost yards and holding penalties at this point. Put yourself in a position to succeed by throwing the football and using the short passing game, similar to what they did versus the Bears in that second half when they exclusively went to the short passing game, and maybe go with some tempo. I thought we looked good in the second half versus the Bears with a little bit of tempo. And Dwayne Haskins had a little something going right before the half with a little bit of tempo. I think they need to do that a little bit earlier. No, don't wait till the 2-minute drive to do that. Do it earlier in the football game. See if you can't get the Patriots off balance a little bit. But again, let's be honest with ourselves. This game is heading nowhere fast. I don't anticipate the Redskins stopping the Patriots on offense very often in this football game. The Patriots do have a new place kicker. Theirs was put on IR, and he was stinking it up anyway. He had missed an extra point in each of the last 3 games, so he was struggling anyway, but they got a bad kicker in Nugent. Maybe we'll be able to take advantage of that. Probably not. Bottom line is, I've talked about all these things. Got to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers and allow them to make plays. Colt's going to most likely distribute the football around. He's going to give guys opportunities. There's going to be a little bit more timing and rhythm with Colt McCoy in this offense, but there's also going to be opportunities for turnovers because that's what Colt does. And we're also going to be in some positions where the Patriots are going to be able to move the sticks. They haven't run the football very effectively this season, have the Patriots. They've struggled out of the gate rushing the football. This is a game that they're probably licking their chops, looking to get back on track running the football. We have to get to Brady, and the only way you're going to be able to do that is to stop the run on first and second downs and then try to get to Brady. I don't know if we'll be able to. You know, Brady is surgical with the short passing game. He's the master of it, probably the best in the business right now and maybe the best of all time. Joe Montana's right up there if you're talking West Coast offense, getting rid of the football and spreading it around. But Brady is at his best when they go to the short passing game, and that will probably be available to them. Our zone coverage is arguably the worst in football right now. We do not do a great job of pattern matching. Guys run into our zone, and we just don't run with them. We allow them. We're covering a blade of grass. All right, we're not covering players that run into our zones. We just don't understand what defense actually means. And even these calls that are being sent in, we don't understand why we're doing what we're doing. We're just doing what we think we're supposed to be doing. And that leads to disaster on defense. And I think the Patriots are going to be able to take full advantage of that. And thus, my final outcome for this game is a 36-16 Redskins loss. I think this is a game in which the Patriots look to score early, score often. I don't think this thing totally gets out of hand until late stages of the third. That's when the Patriots have done most of their damage this season, when they've run away from teams. It's late stages of the third, early fourth. I think this will fall right in line with that. I think the Redskins will fight and battle for much of the first half, keep it respectable. I don't think they'll be close. It'll be something like 17-3, 17-7, 20-7 at half. And then the Patriots will start to make their power move in the third quarter. And by the end of the third quarter, you're looking at a 30-10 type of ball game that ends up being something along the lines of 36-16. So that's how I feel about this football game. We'll see what happens. You guys leave your score and more. And also, you leave in the comment section whether you think Jay Gruden's going to survive this next ass whooping that's coming on Sunday, or do you think he will be gone? I told you my opinion. I think he'll be here. I don't see Jay getting fired. I don't see anybody, Manusky either, getting fired. And this will be another bad defensive performance. And I don't see anything happening with him either. Jay's already said, and he said at his presser today, that it really doesn't do any good to turn over the play calling to Kevin O'Connell, because they all have a say-so in the plays that are being called and the game plan that's being put together. He's like, Kevin has input, Bill Callahan has input, I have input. So it really doesn't matter who's calling the plays into the helmet of the quarterback. We all have input on the game plan and what's being practiced, and that's usually what's being sent in on game day. So I just don't see anything really changing with this group until changes have to be made, and they don't have to be made until after the season's done. I think the first time you actually get a real feel for something truly happening may be the bye week, and the Redskins don't have a bye until week 10. So I don't anticipate anything happening, but I'm going to leave that to you guys to decide. And so leave it in the comment section. Do you think that the Redskins have a chance in hell to win this football game? I've seen commenters saying, hey, we're going to win this game. I don't know what they've seen to have confidence that we're going to find a way to upset the New England Patriots, but I'm going to pass on that theory, and I'm going to go with mine of 36-16. What's yours? And then it doesn't have to be much, but just tell me what you think, whether Jay, Manusky, the combination of both of those guys, whatever the case may be, if there will be changes after this game and the Redskins fall to 0-5 on the season. Remember, we've got skin in the game. Why? Because we're Skins fans for life. I thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you like this video, share it, and subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. I'll see you guys for Thursday Night Football overtime. Rams Seahawks should be an excellent contest. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys again then. And for you Redskins fans that have no interest in the game tonight, have a great weekend, and we will reconvene after Sunday's contest for the R3. Until then, I'm your man Louie T. This has been the Redskins Nightly News. See you guys next time.
Louie T.